So why is it that Fox News and their infinite wisdom, why in the world would they cut the biggest cash cow at their network? Why in the world would they fire Tucker Carlson? What's up, guys? John Claymore here. And I know you're probably thinking to yourself, where have you been with your take on this matter here? Of course, we're talking about Tucker Carlson being fired from Fox News. And I want to let you guys know right off the bat, I wanted to give it a couple more days before I decided to actually post anything about it, because I do think that there was let's just say there's a lot to get into here, and obviously things have changed. Now, first and foremost, there have been allegations of inappropriate misconduct on the set of a show, which, of course, we also had an individual accuse Tucker Carlson of misconduct before. I'm going to go ahead and put this girl's face up here. I'm pretty sure you guys may know who this person is, the crazy lady. Yeah, her claim ended up being completely debunked and kind of tossed out. Of course, the same particular person would eventually get arrested for, don't worry, I'll leave a link in the description box so that way you guys can read it. Now, Tucker recently gave an interview to the Daily Mail detailing his plans for the future, which it really wasn't much of a detail. I'm kind of like putting the article up here in the cutaway. Don't worry, I'll be giving you guys my thoughts on what he'll be doing after this shortly. But we need to go back in time, okay? And there's a certain few amount of individuals that will be brought up here in the first half of the video that we'll be covering, and then we'll cover the accusations, and then we'll cover towards the end exactly what I think will happen going forward as far as Tucker is concerned. So let's go ahead and start with this. So back in 2016, after Trump got elected, I noticed that Fox News was starting to go in a completely different direction. Now, some of these names, or at least one of these names, I'm not exactly a big-time fan of, even though I have read his books. And sometimes he had some really, really good takes, and sometimes he had some takes that I just, quite frankly, just couldn't get behind. That individual's name was Bill O'Reilly. Fox News, they found a way to get Bill O'Reilly out. Now, of course, you could argue that the reason why they did that was to avoid any types of scandals. And don't worry, we'll get to Dominion here too, because Dominion's obviously involved here, but not in the way you think. So make sure you guys stick around for the full video. O'Reilly had been accused of several sexual harassment instances. There were several different employees that accused him of that. Also, they accused Roger Ailes of the same exact thing. However, the thing is right here. After a while, when Fox News realized that they were going to be paying a lot of money in settlements, they eventually just decided to just let him go. Bill's own website was also gone as well, and Bill, of course, now works at the First. Don't worry, we'll be bringing up Bill here in a second. Now, I'm here to tell you right now that Tucker Carlson did not get fired over any of the stuff he's being accused of as far as inappropriate content. And don't worry, I'll provide the receipts here momentarily. The biggest reason why I think Tucker Carlson is gone is because Tucker Carlson was starting to become, how do I say, and by the way, it's obviously a mistake to fire him because he was obviously your biggest breadwinner there. He was obviously the person bringing all the numbers. I mean, me personally, I like Tucker Carlson. I would usually watch his monologues. They were always very good. And he always covered stories that, quite frankly, people, let's just say they didn't hear about every day. And he also brought in a crossover audience. There were a lot of moderate to conservative social democrats out there that would watch Tucker Carlson. As a matter of fact, Tucker Carlson was originally a libertarian. Then again, though, given the fact that he's from Montana, and they mostly vote Republican on economical issues in the western states, these quote-unquote flyover states, which, by the way, I don't think they should call flyover states because they are, in fact, states, and they are a part of our nation. We should treat them as such. Of course, you have the elitist takes out there that kind of demean people who live in those areas. I'm not going to do that. But the thing is this right here. Tucker obviously got more and more conservative over time. He became more of a paleo-type conservative, which I may do a video at a later date kind of explaining the differences. But the thing is this right here. Tucker was bringing up stuff that the establishment, for example, did not want to discuss. They kind of wanted this crap kept hush-hush. Now, the first thing we're going to be showing you is this little bit from his interview with Donald Trump recently. Of course, this is about the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Don't worry, we'll talk about 6-1. I have to invert it for the purposes of the algorithm, the allegations and all that stuff. We'll talk about that here in a second. But let's go ahead and roll this really quick, because obviously when you start talking about stuff like this, the establishment's not going to be happy.
Who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline?
I don't want to get our country in trouble, so I won't answer it. But I can tell you who it wasn't, was Russia. Yeah. How about when they blamed Russia? You know, they said Russia blew up their own pipeline. You got a kick out of that one, too. It wasn't Russia. So I won't answer the question only because I don't want to get our country any deeper than they already are. But it sort of all starts. We have You know, we have the most incredible equipment. I rebuilt our whole military. We have things that are, you can do anything. We're equipped to do anything, but I refuse to say it because I want our country to be pristine. But it was, you know, in many ways, blowing it up was very bad because it really created a lot of problems for Europe in terms of the cost of energy.
Oh, yeah.
But they shouldn't have ever been. I had that pipeline stopped, Nord Stream 2, I had it stopped, totally stopped. When Biden came in, he approved it, and they immediately started the finishing action. I had Nord Stream because I said, for Germany and Europe to get their energy from Russia, that was when I said, I sent Angela Merkel the flag. I sent her the white flag of surrender. She said, but why do you do that? I said, you've been fighting Russia for many years. If you ever have to fight with Russia and they control energy, you might as well just take the white flag.
Now, that right there is a discussion that, of course, you kept hearing Trump say, I don't want to get our country in trouble. I want to kind of keep us pristine. And obviously, for the purposes of national security, you would do that. But let's be honest, we know what the hell really and truly happened there. I mean, it was the episode of the podcast of the Lotus Eaters where they kind of smashed that take out there. Of course, they got demonetized shortly sometime afterwards. I'm not going to get fully in the details, but I will leave this video right here in the description box as well, so that way you guys can kind of check that out. You see, when you have takes like that there and you begin to challenge the establishment, you begin to actually ask questions, guess what's going to happen? News organizations are eventually going to get scared, and they just may let you go. Which, by the way, speaking of that, let's go back to that Daily Mail article that I put up for a second there. Tucker was talking about enjoying retirement. He was talking about sitting down there in Florida, which, by the way, it's actually South Florida where he does his show from. He does not do it in New York City like Sean Hannity. He does it in South Florida. Or maybe Hannity does it in D.C. I think he does it in New York. I'm not sure. But the thing is this way about Tucker Carlson. Tucker does not go to Fox News studios every day like some people who work there do. He doesn't do that at all. He does his show from his own home, which is in South Florida. I want to say it's in Doral, Florida, or Miami or Miami. I'm not entirely sure. I could be wrong. As a matter of fact, it's actually something I wouldn't mind being wrong about because I don't like giving away locations unless something is completely well known. Just go ahead and just say that right now. However, Tucker Carlson is not the first person to kind of challenge the establishment here. Dan Bongino also challenged the establishment. Now, I'm going to take a second on Bongino because he's going to come back up here very shortly. Bongino was a guy who, quite frankly, was somebody that the establishment also did not like, especially the established people at Fox News. They didn't care too much for Dan Bongino. Now, some people will say he had a great working relationship with him, but Bongino also had his own podcast, his own YouTube channel, and he also had a channel on Rumble. I still listen to Bongino from time to time myself. The thing about Bongino was this right here. Once Bongino started going into the weeds about this, and it's actually surprising that Tucker Carlson lasted as long as he did, given what happened in 2020, Bongino, he was banned from YouTube and then eventually dropped by Fox. Bongino kind of took that firing with a smile because he had so many subscribers and he had such a stable audience on Rumble, he quite frankly did not care. And, of course, Tucker Carlson, for the most part, kind of gave you the impression that he did not care either. By the way, Fox News has got Tucker Carlson in a contract through 2024 where they're going to pay the rest of his salary. And to go on top of paying the rest of his salary, he has signed an NDA. So I don't think Carlson's going to be coming out saying anything anytime soon. Now, one more thing needs to be mentioned. The reason why I'm putting the Mark Dice video up, and he's not the only one who's reported this. There are several people that have actually reported this. You see, they're trying to link Tucker to Dominion. Well, the thing about the Tucker Carlson Dominion lawsuit situation is this here. Tucker Carlson was never named an actual defendant in that case. Now, Fox News, of course, has got to pay a heavy amount of money. I think right around $1 billion. Their stocks went down. And, of course, they did experience a bit of a bump back. Obviously, some information like this is going to cause a bit of a stock drop. But the thing is this right here. Tucker Carlson was never mentioned in that case. However, there's a lot of language, however, that Dominion, and not only Dominion, but other people, other machine makers, are a little bit upset about that, which, by the way, brings me to the next point. Do you guys remember what happened in 2020 when the election, and we have to watch our language here because YouTube's got this thing about suspending your content, and don't worry, this is probably going to be the biggest section of the video. Carlson was being urged to have Sidney Powell on. Carlson kept on basically saying, show me proof, show me evidence. And of course, eventually Sidney Powell asked to go on, from what we understand, and Tucker Carlson's producers would not allow it. So it couldn't have been that, because none of that 2020 stuff ever really and truly made it to his actual show. So that right there could not have been the actual issue. That there may have been something that may have been weighted into their issue. But then again, though, at the same time, we probably will never know. Now, with that right there being said, let's go ahead and go to the accusations.
I know what happened to tell the News Nation audience not to believe 90% of what they're hearing, as you pointed out. So today, as every day in the TV news business, the producers of the Tucker Carlson program and all other news shows were having their morning meeting, laying out what was going to be on this evening, all right? In the middle of that meeting, they got word that their host was not coming to work ever again, all right? So all of this BS about, well, the decision was made last week or it was made during the Dominion, that's all not true. The decision was made Sunday evening, okay? And there were two reasons why, but I'll get to that in a moment. So Fox News did not want to remove Tucker Carlson because, as you pointed out, he was the second highest rated program on the network next to the 5, and he was the most well-known individual host. So they didn't want to move him out. But there are lawsuits coming on the wake of Dominion. They lost $800 million plus on Dominion. And now you have Smartmatic coming up, and you have two individual lawsuits, actually one filed and one that may be filed. And that was the key. So one of Tucker Carlson's producers apparently taped a whole bunch of stuff. Her lawyer went into the Fox attorneys and said, unless you pay so-and-so some money, we're going to sue you. And Fox said, we're not paying, so they filed suit in New York City. And they had the tapes, and those tapes may be released to the public, all right? And they're not good tapes for the Carlson program. Epps, you may remember that name, said to the audience, Tucker Carlson ruined my life and my family's life by accusing me of having some kind of provocative role in the January 6th riots at the Capitol. That was setting Epps up for a massive lawsuit against Fox News and Tucker Carlson. So that's 3 lawsuits we know about, and there'll be more by shareholders who are angry about the $800 million settlement, and they're going to go after the Murdochs and the board of directors. Faced with that, the board of directors said, we got to start cleaning this up.
Now, gang, that right there was Bill O'Reilly, and he was on News Nation with Chris Cuomo. And he's basically saying that a lot of people in Tucker Carlson's group were, they had all the inappropriate behavior accusations, all that stuff there. And of course, and like I said before at the very beginning of the video, you already had one person accuse him of this. Of course, this person kind of got laughed out. And of course, we found out what really happened was nothing more than Tucker Carlson just simply putting on his jacket. Okay, so I highly doubt that that right there is the case. I'm not saying he's perfect or squeaky clean. I'm just saying I don't believe a lot of the inappropriate conduct accusations as you're about to see right here.
From Fox News to make it low while he flirts with Lindsey Graham every night. Even the liberal media pundits are admitting that they don't know why Fox News fired him, because on the surface, it doesn't make any sense at all, unless you really know how things operate. But we have some interesting information into the plot to try to bring him down. This is Abby Grossberg, who just did an interview on MSNBC, which I'll show you in just a moment. She is a former producer of Tucker Carlson, who secretly recorded months worth of conversations in the office and allegedly, in my opinion, tried to extort the network. And then when they wouldn't pay her, she filed a lawsuit against them and Tucker Carlson, claiming that it was a hostile work environment and that she was subjected to sexism and anti-Semitism. So tell us, lady, what sort of terrible things happened to you once you joined the show?
I was hoping that it would be more professional, and what he was portraying on air was just a show, and unfortunately that wasn't the case.
Oh, how dare a television host actually believe what it is that he's saying? I just wanted it to be entertainment.
So when do you realize that?
Immediately. I show up first day of work, and I know that this is a popular one. It's been widely publicized. There are literally pictures like this big of Nancy Pelosi in a bathing suit in Europe, plastered all over. There was even one on my computer screen for the temporary computer I had to use, and I had to take it down just to work.
Oh, you mean this viral photo, which Tucker mocked on air, and which became a popular meme? You know, I can see why she was horrified, because that photo would scare anyone. But not grounds for a lawsuit, and certainly doesn't make a hostile work environment when somebody in the office, before you even worked there, put it as the wallpaper on a computer as a joke. You know, I kind of hope that she does have recordings of Tucker Carlson and release them to Israel if she doesn't like American holidays. Over there, they're trying to ban Christianity.
Conservative Christian leaders are calling on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to stop a bill proposed by members of his coalition to make it criminal to tell people about Jesus in Israel. Our Jerusalem correspondent Daniel Cohen is live near Tel Aviv with more. Good morning, Daniel.
Well, that's very interesting, Newsmax. I didn't see anything about that on Fox News. I'll have to tune into Newsmax more often. It looks like this is the best story that they've come up with. Not claiming that Tucker was fired for talking about conspiracy theories about electronic voting machines or January 6th, because that's going to really turn off a lot of Fox News viewers. So instead, they're just trying to tar and feather him as a big sexist, misogynist, and an anti-Semite. This is a media reporter from NPR who says that he has spoken to 3 people with knowledge of Fox's ouster of Tucker Carlson. They say Carlson's digital exchanges captured by the Dominion legal team echo the sweet concerns alleged by his ex-producer that the show's workplace was defined by sexism and bigotry. So they're trying to paint him like Bill O'Reilly, who actually was a serial harasser who got fired because he cost the company too much money in settlements to keep the women quiet, and that he was harassed.
That last little bit right there about Newsmax covering a story out of Israel where they're trying to straight up outlaw Christianity, I don't think that will happen in that country, but at the same time, though, given the fact that CNN's Oliver Darcy had to post Newsmax's sudden bump, which, by the way, I don't watch Newsmax, never have, because I've always felt that Newsmax was just simply trying to leech off of Fox News' jilted viewers from 2020. It's kind of a very shocking turnaround when you think about it. It makes you almost wonder exactly what Fox News' direction is going to be going forward. Unlike in the case of Bill O'Reilly, where Fox News literally had to settle out of court with just about every single female employee that Bill O'Reilly actually harassed at that news organization. So, no, I don't believe that that is the case. I believe that that right there is just simply more overall smoke. But then we get to the whole Ray Epstein. Now, guys, I'm going to play this for you, and then I'm going to come back on the other side. I'm going to give you guys my personal thoughts. Of course, like I said, we've got to tread lightly when it comes to this topic.
I'm probably going to go to jail for it, okay? Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol. What? No! Peacefully. Fed.
To some in the crowd, Epps seemed so over the top, he must have been a government agent, a Fed sent to entrap them.
When you said, we have to go into the Capitol, we have to go into the Capitol, what were you thinking?
I said some stupid things. My thought process, we surround the Capitol, we get all the people there. I mean, I had problems with the election. It was my duty as an American to peacefully protest, along with anybody else that wanted to.
The next morning, January 6th, Epps was out by the Washington Monument, still focused on a single goal.
We are going to the Capitol, where our problems are. It's that direct.
60 Minutes may copyright that, but I tried to blank as much as I could as far as visual is concerned because of the way YouTube's copyright and CBS works, and I have been copyrighted before. Well, I've been copyrighted by ABC, but never CBS, just to kind of play it safe. The thing is this here. That situation right there looks like a guy who was, in fact, very, very much a Fed. I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. And I've heard one take today that really kind of upset the literal hell out of me, where they basically were trying to say, well, there was no actual evidence or proof that this individual was a Fed. Okay, this guy is constantly screaming, we're going into the Capitol, and then the very, very next day, he's out there basically saying the problems are over here, the problems are over here. He's trying to get people to go into that place to possibly get trapped. If that doesn't say Fed, I don't know what the hell does. So, no. I don't believe that Tucker Carlson was getting fired over inappropriate conduct. I don't think Tucker Carlson was getting fired over 2020 or anything Dominion related. I think Tucker Carlson got fired because Tucker Carlson was a journalist doing what a journalist need to do. I mean, it's too bad that journalists don't do this. But then again, though, there are those people out there who will remind journalists from time to time that they need to do their
New York
job.
Times there who came out with a phony story to try and block Seymour Hersh. It's just kind of funny how that happened, you know? I mean, did you even acknowledge Seymour Hersh? All of you are executive editors of papers that broke Pentagon, My Lai, Watergate. Is this the same papers or not? I mean, is there anything you've gotten right in the last 20 years, or am I mistaken about that? I mean, it's just kind of funny because Iraq, wrong. Syria, wrong. Russiagate, really wrong. Okay, I mean, the list goes on and on. So the last thing you could do to try and actually fix your reputation is acknowledge that through leaks, we had to find out that Zelensky was going to bomb Moscow on the anniversary. I mean, if you're so impartial, shouldn't you at least say, right, that Zelensky was going to bring us on the verge of World War III? That seems pretty fair. While Julian Assange rots in prison, all of you've got, fat checks because he's in jail for doing your job. And you know what? Tucker Carlson ain't no Seymour Hersh, but he did something you guys are scared to do. Speak the truth and actually be critical of the war, which is why he was actually fired from Fox, because you are all cowards.
That little scene right there was at Columbia University. Now, really quick, it doesn't matter where you line up at. You need to actually question your media. You need to actually go out there and ask the hard questions. Too bad I can't actually get out there on the street and do it myself. I haven't really been able to, but still at the same time, though, you need to actually do this. You need to hold this media accountable. As I have said before, the mainstream media loves to play the game of professional wrestling with us. They love to pit one side against the other. They do that to prey on emotions because there is a certain agenda and certain outcome that these people do in fact want. So yes, I believe that Tucker Carlson was fired because Tucker Carlson was simply asking the questions that nobody else was asking. Fox News fired their golden goose over that there, which by the way, also gives you an idea of where they're going at in the future. You see, to me, I find it very weird that Tucker Carlson was fired and that Don Lemon was fired on the same day. A lot of people have been trying to put this thing, they've tried to put two and two together, that maybe it was an establishment deal or something, like the deep state. Maybe they got to them both. I don't doubt that for 1 second. However, when you actually look at Don Lemon's ratings, you will see that Don Lemon was cratering. He was falling apart. But then again, at the same time, though, Don Lemon himself, he wasn't exactly a part of the new agenda at CNN. So it makes you almost wonder if CNN and Fox News both aren't trying to go in a much, much more moderate direction. Now, as far as Tucker Carlson is concerned and going forward, and I'll get to that here in a second, the reason why I kind of came to this assessment is because obviously the older, more establishment type personalities are still there. Sean Hannity will still be there, the old Reaganite. Of course, Laura Ingraham, the Reaganite, will be there. Yeah, I think the Republican Party needs to understand that as much as we love Ronald Reagan, I think it's time that we stop trying to resurrect him. The man has been dead for close to 20 years. He died in 2004. His presidency ended in 1988. He was a great president. I love Ronald Reagan. But as you guys could obviously see, when Herbert Walker Bush came in there, he kind of liberalized the party. Then you have Bob Dole, who was basically a liberal Republican. Then you had George W. Bush, who was practically a compassionate conservatism. And the American people have rejected that outright. Okay? So let's just kind of go ahead and hit the nail on the head here. It's pretty obvious that Fox News wants to go back to a more Paul Ryan-esque establishment type politician, or establishment type Republican, which is what the hell it's all about. We can't have our ratings hinge on one man. We have to have our ratings hinge on what else is. Oh yeah, that's right. We got to have our ratings hinge on overseas activities. And by the way, I mean, that whole bit about Newsmax, covering something that Fox News is not covering, expect more of that in the future. What happens to Fox News? Well, obviously, Fox News loses somebody in the 8 o'clock spot. Fox News obviously loses somebody very important, but they still have Gutfield. And, of course, they still get their not the good viewership from Sean Hannity. Jesse Waters is good, so they've obviously still got some good personalities there. However, I do not believe that you're going to see the type of journalism and covering of stories that you would get out of Tucker Carlson. Now, when Tucker Carlson first came on the scene, I personally did not care for the guy. As a matter of fact, he actually worked at MSNBC and CNN at one time before going over to Fox. Like I said, I did not care for Tucker in the early going. After a while, I began to like Tucker more and more and more. And then eventually they gave him his own slot. And Tucker Carlson, quite frankly, became extremely important, especially for that news organization. Will that news organization ever recover? Well, in the short term, I'm not so sure. In the long term, more than likely so, depending on what direction they go in. But as I was mentioning the whole direction that they were going into in the establishment direction, they still have a lot of very, very pro-Trump people there. I wonder if they're going to be muzzled, though. Pete Hegseth being one of those. I'm just a little bit curious about this organization's future going forward. Now, with that right there being said, speaking of 2024, which, by the way, I think is the real meat of what's going on here, we got to talk about another little bird in the room, because you have a lot of people out there saying Tucker 2024. I don't think so. Maybe 2028, but definitely not 2024. Now, guys, the leading candidate for president on the Republican ticket after Donald Trump is this guy here.
I'm not a candidate, so we'll see if and when that changes.
He says he's not a candidate yet, but really quick, what does that head bob remind you of? Here, I'll show you.
I'm not a candidate, so we'll see if and when that changes.
Did you talk about vice presidential possibilities?
I'm not a candidate, so we'll see if and when that changes.
Let me say this really quick. Tucker has gotten millions in his account. Not just millions from Fox News, but he's also going to receive the rest of his contract, which, of course, is worth millions of dollars. I'm pretty sure he gets paid more money than Stephen A. Smith. He's already heir to the Swanson food fortune. There's a lot of money coming in. He's got a great big giant house. If Tucker Carlson wants to, he could get a job anywhere else. I personally don't think he'll go to the Daily Wire, and the reason why is because, as you guys obviously found out with the Steven Crowder ordeal, it's not about the money. It's about the censorship. It's about the fact that YouTube can actually punish you, and then Daily Wire is going to come in and punish you afterwards. I don't think that Tucker Carlson is going to want to work there. He may do some interviews and get paid heavy amounts of money like with the Blaze. It's possible that in 2025, when his NDA is officially over with, he may go to YouTube. It just depends. It also depends on the direction that they're going. Somebody put up a tweet earlier today about asking Elon Musk if Elon Musk would be willing to spend the money to buy Fox News. And my response, I responded to that tweet by saying, I think if Elon bought YouTube, I think it would be a little bit more effective. I think if he did that, I think it would actually be a whole lot better, because guess what? YouTube is kind of becoming the main news source for people, as well as Rumble. Maybe Elon could own Twitter, Rumble, and YouTube. You never know. But then again, at the same time, though, we don't want to give that one person so much daggone power, especially given the fact that he already owns Twitter and Tesla both. The thing is this right here, though. What about Tucker Carlson in the future? Could Tucker Carlson actually inherit that MAGA label? Well, given the fact that a lot of information has came out on DeSantis about his donors, Ken Griffin, Paul Tudor Jones, and by the way, some of these people also donated to Trump. I went back and re-researched that. When you actually look into what's going on there, and you're looking at how DeSantis is sagging in the polls, it makes you wonder if DeSantis would even try for 2024, especially given now that Disney just sued him. I personally think that Ron DeSantis at this moment in time has got no choice but to run in 2024. He's got to do that because it'll only do favors for him going into 2028. However, I also think that DeSantis will get absolutely crushed. And the mere fact that I could link DeSantis' facial expressions with Hillary Clinton's bobblehead, that right there should kind of be a sign right there that this guy is not going to have he's not going to have a good time running up against big T Daddy Payne. So I don't see DeSantis in 2024 happening, and I honestly, to tell you the truth, have a hard time seeing it happen in 2028. And theoretically, if you want to be absolutely 100% bluntly honest, it's very possible that the one true America First person out there, especially that in the media, that who actually does something as far as news is concerned, as far as an actual personality, you might be able to argue that the one person is probably Tucker Carlson. So I do think that 2028 is a possibility. I'm not calling it. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. But when you think about this right here, when he collects the rest of his cash sitting in retirement, he'd be 54 years old, and before the end of 2024, let's say he decides to start his own network, start his own broadcasting company or something like that, or he goes into YouTube or whatever. He can make millions and millions and millions of dollars, and given the fact of what he is set to inherit and what he is actually worth as far as his family is concerned, yeah, I could see him possibly getting some type of commission together and putting something in order in 2027 if he actually wants it. It's very possible that he may not want it, but at the same time, as I said before, anything is possible. And as I also stated a while ago, theoretically, there's really only one other true America First person I can think of right now at the top of my head, and it would actually be Tucker Carlson. So, guys, those right there are my thoughts on what I think happened to Tucker Carlson. I think Tucker Carlson straight up got fired because he was reporting things that, quite frankly, the establishment did not like or did not want reported. I also would argue that maybe it's possible that beyond 2024, he could find work anywhere in the world. I mean, he could also retire and be fine, and he could also run for president if he wanted to. However, I highly doubt this man will be going to the Daily Wire or the Blaze. If anything, I think he'd be more inclined to actually start up his own organization if he was to stay in the realm of media. Guys, John Claymore, if you like this content, please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign up in the comment section. I want to let you leave one last thing. I'm kind of slurring a little bit, but the videos for Thursday are going to be the videos on the cops versus the criminals. That video will be out on Thursday evening. The gun control is racist video will more than likely be out on Friday to probably go along with something else. And on Saturday or Sunday, we're probably going to put out the video on why pop culture matters. So make sure you guys stick around for all that. With that right there being said, guys, once again, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video if you're new to the channel. Thank you guys for subscribing. We're almost to 1,000. Let's go ahead and get there, and I'll see you guys later.